Hey, this is Otacon. You're listening to This Week in Geek with Mike the Birdman Dodd and the rest of the TWIG crew, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Are you listening? Snake? Snake? Snake!
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to The Prototype, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I am your host, Mike the Birdman Dodd, but I am so woefully and dreadfully alone as I endure week, I don't even goddamn know what, of the quarantine during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm joined over Discord by the man in charge who makes this show possible. Without him, I would be lost.
Alex, the producer.
It's true. Without your technical expertise, I could host, but I don't know what else I'm doing, even though I do edit the show, but you occasionally take over when Birdman malfunctions.
Which is more often than you think.
Yeah. Recently, certain words have just started to trip me up. Like, I think we did a show, probably would have been last week by the time this comes out, and one word, it started with a P, and it tripped me up so bad.
Bleh, 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 bleh. Uh-oh, I'm stuck.
Yeah, shit. So anyway, guys, we are here with a lot of Prototype, and obviously we've talked about Persona 5 Royal. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy 7. But this episode of the Prototype, I'm not quite sure when it's going up. It'll be up to Alice to decide. But let's face it, folks. Quarantine is going to be here for quite some time. So get comfortable in your DX racer chairs, grab some snacks you've likely ordered off of Amazon Prime, though if they've showed up, that's an entirely different question. But either way, you're practicing social distancing, you're at home, and you have an Xbox Live account. And if you're very smart, you have a Xbox Gamer Pass account, which allows you
Ultimate. That's
Game
what
Pass
it is.
Ultimate.
It's
Offers you.
It's $16.99 Canadian. I'm not sure what the American is. I'm assuming it's
14, I think.
Something like that. It comes out to just under $20 here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the different consoles that you can play with during your quarantine, but also as kind of a send-off, because this console generation is at its end. E3 2020 is not happening this year, though I guarantee you we'll have some kind of an announcement from the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X sometime in the next few months, though whether we actually see them this year, I would be surprised. We'll see what happens come holiday 2020. But we wanted to kind of give you some ideas, because ultimately, if you want to find a video game system, well, the one that's hard to find right now is the Switch, but the ones that are fairly easy to find in stores right now are the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. So we wanted to kind of give you our picks and our suggestions for games you should maybe check out in your back catalog. Each of these games, we have usually more than some passing experience with them, which is why they will appear on our list. This is by no means a best of the console, but the ones we have personally enjoyed over its time. There will be some multi-platform titles, which I'll go into some of the reasons why they appear on my list and maybe not on Alex's. So while Alex is doing a little bit more off the cuff, I'll give him time to think, so I will start off the show. So I've been an Xbox One owner since launch. I was there on launch night. I played Titanfall at a launch party. Microsoft took me out for like dinner and drinks. It was a fantastic time. And I've always been a big fan of the Xbox One environment. I like its integration with media. It's been surprisingly useful to me because I have my cable box plugged into it, and I've liked it. I also used my Plex media drive with it for a long time, but I've always liked Xbox. So the Xbox has had a problem when it's come to exclusives, however. So some of these will be exclusive, some of them will not be. They'll just be multi-platform. And we're actually going to start off with a multi-platform title that I do recommend. Some people might say this is a controversial pick, but it's the game made me a fan of the franchise. And I didn't expect it because I got the game very unexpectedly for review when it came out. I want to say 2015 or 16. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm talking about Fallout 4. And the reason I recommend Fallout 4 for you to play right now is all the pieces of DLC are currently available. It is included in Game Pass Ultimate right now. It's like 1,600 plus gamer score you can get. It's one of the few games I've actually gotten every achievement for. And because it's on the Xbox environment, Bethesda allows you to mod the games. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different mods, including different music tracks you can import into the game. I have a radio station that features all 80s music on my Pip-Boy. You can get new skins, new weapons. You want to have the weapons from Halo in Fallout in Fallout 4, you can do that. You want to be Commander Shepard, you can do that. And Fallout 4 is such a versatile game that people are building mods that expand new quests, new characters, new NPCs. There's been some fantastic undertaken by the Fallout 4 community, and I think it's one of those games that has a lot of replay value because you can tweak the values so much. Plus, if you really hate Preston Garvey, there are mods in which you can shoot him in the face and kill him. Don't recommend it. It'll break the game, but you can do that. So that's going to be my first pick for the Xbox One. It's a fantastic title. It's bargain price, even if you don't have Game Pass Ultimate right now. Most of the DLC is worth playing through. I think it was Automatron, which introduces the robots, was pretty neat. Far Harbor was really good, although the jumping puzzle, and you'll know what I mean when you get to it, is next level bullshit. But still, it's fun. But it's a Bethesda game, so your mileage may vary with it. The next game, it's kind of a package deal, and there's going to be 2 package deals on this one, but you'll see what I mean in just a moment here. And that's the Master Chief Collection, which is something me and Alex are going to be playing through. Well, now we have nothing but fucking time. So we're going to start going through this, but I'm also recommending Halo 5 because allegedly this year we will see Halo Infinite come out and we will get the next part of the Master Chief story against, I guess, the Forerunners and Evil Cortana, because that's just how it is now. And the Master Chief Collection I'm recommending because now it has Halo Reach in it. It's got Halo 3 ODST. It has 1 through 4, all the multiplayer options in it. It's fantastic. It's been wonderfully supported by Studio 343, which is the Microsoft Halo studio. So obviously there's a lot of love there. Plus it does have the updated version of Halo 2. If you want to play, it has Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 3 as you've always known and loved it, and Halo 4, think of that what you will. I think it was it was judged a little more harshly than I think it deserved because its multiplayer I really liked, and I was really good at for a long time. But I think that's definitely something you should probably check out on the console. Again, included with Game Pass Ultimate. Another one, you can find this if you live in Canada, probably in the US too. You can find this fairly cheap if you can get to a store. Otherwise, I think it's included in EA Access, which is another service you can pay for, which I do recommend. It's not as robust as Game Pass Ultimate, but it does have some pretty good games on it, and that is Titanfall 2. This game came out a couple of years ago and is obviously a follow-up to the mostly multiplayer first Titanfall. This one gives you more Titans to play in, gives you an actual full story campaign, and a fantastically still active multiplayer community still supporting the game to this very day. Now, this is also multi-platform. You can also get this on the PlayStation 4. It was a free PlayStation PlayStation Plus title, I want to say about 6 months back. So the community is still there for it as far as I'm aware. And it's just a really great game overall. I want to see more from the Titanfall universe. I'm glad Apex Legends exists to give us a little bit of a peek into that world. I hope they don't put Titans into Apex because I think that's what makes it stand apart. But Titanfall is definitely one of those games I think you should probably be checking out if you do get the opportunity to play it during quarantine. This game is currently on sale on PlayStation. It may be on Game Pass Ultimate or for sale in general. But this one I reviewed a couple years ago at launch, and that's Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. You can get the definitive edition if you want. I think it just gives you some extra multiplayer shit, or maybe some extra skins. But the base game itself, it's a fantastic play. Metal Gear in an open world is a different experience. Kiefer Sutherland is not a terrible Solid Snake. He's no David Hayter, but it's definitely the era of Big Boss. And I guess that's the difference, right? Big Boss was David Hayter in Snake Eater, but I'm willing to let that go for Kiefer Sutherland because he is Jack Bauer. And you know what? Why the hell not? It's a good game. It's like 50 something missions. There's a multiplayer suite in there. There's just a lot to do. There's a lot to unlock. There's a lot of neat collectibles. There is some goofy shit, such as when the sniper Quiet decides to dance naked on top of the aircraft carrier or your base in the middle of the water. That was a very weird scene. I remember actively saying when I reviewed it, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Plus, Revolver Ocelot's just a really cool guy. It's really sad he turns into a shithead. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think Metal Gear 5 is definitely an older title you should probably check out. Like I said, right now you should be able to find it fairly cheap. The next title that I want to recommend to you, this one came out of nowhere. And this is a franchise I don't think anybody expected it to succeed, but it came out fairly close to when its IP had a big resurgence, and that's Mad Max. This game takes vehicular combat and does it right. It doesn't feel as goofy as, say, Twisted Metal or Carmageddon or anything like that. It just feels more brutal. Like one shotgun shell can take out a vehicle if you're close, or your harpoon gun. Plus you have Chumley, that weird looking hunchback guy, hangs out on the back of your car, the magnum opus, as you go across the wasteland looking for gas, water, food, and weapons. And it was just a surprisingly fun experience. I didn't expect to get as much into it as I did. It's one of the few games I think I came really close to getting all the achievements, or at least all the collectibles, because I did all the side missions and then the main missions first. So I was just coming across things as I was fucking around in the main world. And it was an unexpected joy. I didn't much care for the ending, but it was just a fun experience. Once again, I think this was offered via PlayStation Plus, but I think this is on Game Pass Ultimate as well. The next game is an Xbox exclusive, though it is available on PC if I remember right, and that's Quantum Break. Now, this game was a huge deal several years ago because it was supposed to integrate movie-like footage, or like a television show, into its acts, and you would see them between the different chapters of the game as you proceeded forward. And it featured the other Ashmore twin, the one who is an Iceman, if I'm not mistaken. And it basically involves time travel and possibilities, and a guy changing the future for his own purposes. And it was cool because your character could stop and control and manipulate time and physics, and it was surprisingly fun. The last boss battle's bullshit, especially on hard, but it was a good experience. I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't expect much from it. I know it got a lot of hype at E3, but this is a game I'm pretty sure you could find for like less than $5, $10 physical, or again, Game Pass Ultimate, I think, should also have this title since it is a first-party Xbox. Another Xbox exclusive, though it is getting a port at some point soon for another console, either PlayStation 4 or PC, is Sunset Overdrive. This is the hyperkinetic skateboarding though I think it's rollerblade. I don't know. You're always moving and you're killing these soda zombies with really bizarre weaponry. I remember there's a teddy bear grenade launcher that I was fond of using. There was like soda can grenades I was also using as well. Basically, you drink this energy drink and it turns people into zombies, and you have to free them from this evil soda corporation. And it was ridiculously goofy, and it was always a fun challenge to see, could you traverse the map without touching the ground? And it's offered achievements for that. It had an amazingly catchy soundtrack, a wonderfully bright art design. It's like sort of, what if Tony Hawk and Jet Set Radio had a baby with Dead Rising, would be a really good way to describe it, because the screen would be filled with enemies. You would be bouncing off like an umbrella, launching grenades into a crowd of zombies, and then explode into orange and purple goo. It was fun, a lot of fun. Next on my list is for the fighting game enthusiast. I never had a fight stick for my Xbox One, and that's my one regret from this console generation. But I did enjoy playing this on a controller, and I think that says something to how well the game was actually made. And that is another Microsoft-led game, and that was Killer Instinct. Pretty cool roster across the entirety of the Killer Instinct franchise. You also had a guest character. I'm pretty sure Rash from Battletoads is in it. I always played Orchid or Yago because they were like some of the free characters. When the game first came out, I think the game had 3 seasons over the course of its lifetime. But there's also, if you want the Killer Instinct classics, there's those if you want to relive those rare arcade days. Although I don't know about Killer Instinct 2. I know you can get it, but I don't think it's as good as the N64 port and Killer Instinct Gold, or there was something missing from it. I don't know. So don't quote me on that one precisely. The next one I'm going to recommend, that I'm going to throw over to Alex. This one should come as no surprise if you've known me for years. You know, Blair was a widow to this game for many, many years, and that's Skyrim. And Skyrim Definitive Edition takes the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of the game, up-reses everything, fixes a lot of the bugs, though some of the same exploits that are in the original game are still here. So if you know the alchemy exploit, you can create weapons, armor, and all sorts of neat enchantment stuff where you can have weapons that do 2 billion damage. When I can strike down a elder dragon with a simple flick of a wooden spoon, that's awesome. But Skyrim, it's a game where you can literally do anything, go anywhere. The sandbox does not hold your hand. It gives you hints on where to go, but you're left up to your own devices. However, it being a Bethesda game, it's buggy. Now, you might be wondering, why am I recommending the Xbox One version? Well, again, we talk about Bethesda and modding. You can mod these games. There are mods which go back and fix some of the most notorious known bugs in the game, so your game won't crash. However, that also means achievements are disabled. But if you just want a pure experience in Skyrim, if you're looking to maybe build your home north of Whiterun, or if you want to just maybe fight some different enemies, if you want to fight a Macho Man Randy Savage dragon, you can do that, and you can do it here because it's ridiculous and stupid. And my final title that I'm going to recommend for the Xbox One that you play during quarantine, well, there's no better time like the present. The entire series is available, and that's the Gears of War collection across the Xbox One and Game Pass Ultimate. The most recent title, Gears 5, was pretty good. I enjoyed it for what it was. The multiplayer was fun for the first time in a long time, though I don't think many people stuck with it. I don't know who's currently playing. And the microtransactions are ridiculous, but you don't need them to have a good time. Because I got my code from Microsoft, I got to play as the Terminator. If I play as the Locust, if I play as the humans, I get to play as Linda Hamilton. So that's kind of neat. Although I never did get the DLC for Grace and the Rev 9 from Terminator Dark Fate. So I'd rather have just a T8 Endo and Sarah Connor. But the games themselves are pretty good. The Gears of War collection does have Gears of War 1 remastered. And then Gears of War 2 and 3 are still great games in their own right. Gears of War Judgment, I think, is the dark horse of the franchise, but I liked it because it featured Baird, and I think he's a wonderful character. I really like him. And the storyline is just plain fun. So those are some of my picks for the Xbox One console, such as it has been over the course of its life style. I do recommend, if you're an Xbox One owner coming late into the game, it's worth it to sign up for Game Pass Ultimate. There's a lot of exclusives and cross-platform games on there for you to enjoy. There's also EA Access, which opens up their vault. So if maybe you missed playing the Mass Effect trilogy, and I think Andromeda's on there too. If you've missed playing that series of games, you can go back and play that for nothing, or for I think it's $28 a year is how much I pay for it. So you do get access to a bunch of older titles and a bunch of Star Wars titles as well. So I guess now that I've rambled on for I don't know how long, let's hear Alex. What are some of your picks for the Xbox One console?
Now, I don't have nearly as many because I came to this console later, only in the last 2 years or so, maybe 2.5 years I've been playing. I was never an Xbox guy, so I'm sort of discovering as we go. You covered most of what I was going to cover, but I am, the bigger.
And I cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me. I wonder why that is. It's working just fine on my end. Now I can play pretty much any title I want to play using the Xbox Game Pass. Now, as far as for me, you can pretty much play anything I would want to play using the Game Pass right now, which is, I never thought I'd be somebody who would spend like $18 a month on a service. But when I realized that for the most part, I'm not buying any Xbox titles because any first party title comes for free with Game Pass. So for the money I'm spending, $17, $18 a month, if they come out with 3 games in a year that I want to play, it basically covers it on top of having all the back catalog of everything I want to play. I am the more RPG oriented guy here, and there's just not a whole lot of RPGs in the system that aren't available on everything else. That being said, and this is going to be sacrilege, I would say if you're going to play the Yakuza series, which is, traditionally been PlayStation exclusive from Sega, the games have been coming out now as part of Game Pass, remastered. They play in 4K 60 FPS on the Xbox One X. And actually, overall, they play better on Xbox than they do on PlayStation. So that would be one to look at. If you're looking for something that is like world building and expanding, you've got 6 titles plus the 0 title. I'm not sure if every single one is available just yet, but the vast majority of them are available on Xbox. So between all those titles, you got like 400 or 500 hours you can play with all the mini games. It's basically like Shenmue, but like for the modern generation. So you've got those titles. You talked about, like Mike, you talked about all the ones that I was going to talk about as well. Like they don't, this generation, they didn't have a whole ton of really good first party titles. Like we're not going to be talking about Crackdown. We're not going to be talking about a lot of them because they were just sort of meh. And even then, like, was it Dead Rising was crap? It was the last one that was kind of garbage.
Yeah, Dead Rising 4 wasn't very good. Although Dead Rising 3 was a surprising amount of fun, though very different from the other Dead Rising games in the fact you had a much larger area to explore, but it was really fun.
Yeah. And then I would say one of the biggest values is going and having the backwards compatibility. There are titles in the Xbox Live Arcade that never came out on any other platform and probably never will. A lot of Sega's old library, there's like, if you're a big fan of mech shooters and fighting games, there was the Virtual On series. That's the one where you're piloting a mech fighting in a 3D plane. Super duper fun. There was that remastered version that came out in Japan this past year, but we're not getting it as far as I know. So because of that, the best way to play it is to pay like $5 or whatever it costs. Get it for the Xbox Live. It was originally released on the 360, but it's one of the few titles that not only is it backwards compatible when you get it to play on the Xbox One, it actually has a patch for it optimized for Xbox One X to do it in 4K, where the game re-renders everything in 4K. It's obviously low poly count because the game is from the 90s, but it's kind of amazing that they actually went and they're patching games from 2 generations ago to work with this current generation and work competitively, and it has a fairly strong online community. In that same vein, there are a few 360 titles that have had those patches released for backwards compatibility modes that are worth it. The 2 releases from Mistwalker, Blue Dragon, and Lost Odyssey all have enhancements for Xbox One and Xbox One X to play it in higher res and just smoother, faster gameplay. So if you're looking for back catalog of stuff, there is some pretty neat exclusive things on there. But other than what you said, like the Halo games, the Gears games, there wasn't a whole lot this generation that was super interesting to me. There's a lot that's multi-platform. And sometimes they're actually best to play on Xbox if you have, if you have a One X specifically, because it was the best home console version you could get. But overall, I felt that the stuff was kind of weak that they released, except for the titles you talked about, and then some of the RPGs. Those are great to fill hundreds of hours of gameplay.
I'm trying to think if there's any Xbox exclusives that we missed. I mean, if you're into the Forza games, they're pretty good too, but they're just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and there's going to be people that love those sorts of games. Like there's racing games on every platform. Specifically, I believe it was Forza Horizon 3 had the Hot Wheels expansion. That's super fun because you get to race on loop-de-loops and stuff. But
I think there was Forza had one where you could play as the Fast and the Furious people.
Yeah,
I think that was Forza 6 or something.
One of those, yeah, I'm pretty sure as well. And there's been some other decent titles. It's just a lot of it was multi-platform.
Yeah, there weren't as many strong Xbox only franchises. Like, I think the big one I honestly think is a real standout is Sunset Overdrive and Quantum Break. And I think they are must owns for the system because I just think they're fun. And honestly, you can get them both for probably like $10 a piece. If not, Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, Game Pass Ultimate is worth it because it's almost like we can give these suggestions, but just pay for that, pay for that pass, and then you can have hundreds of games to choose from to see what you like. It is a great value, especially at the end of a game's system's life cycle, like right now, where there's hundreds to go through.
So, moving right along in our thing here, I guess, are there any other Xbox One titles that you want to maybe talk about? I mean, because this is an Xbox-focused show, is there anything else that maybe people should be playing during quarantine that's maybe unique to the console, or it's mostly multi-platform?
Well, yeah, I played a beta, but I don't think it's available just yet. But the Phantasy Star Online 2 is, as far as I know, Xbox platform exclusive. So there are some MMOs that are going to be or coming out or are out that are worth checking out. Honestly, the Xbox was sort of the utility system in that it played stuff from every other platform. I can't think of anything in particular that really showcased it beyond some of the first party titles that were just really good. Devil May Cry, the new one, 5.
Devil May Cry 5, yeah.
Yeah. You have to pay for that on every other system, but it's part of Xbox Game Pass.
And the Outer Worlds is also a part of that too.
And the Outer Worlds is first party, so that's why it's there. But Capcom, they worked out a deal so that Devil May Cry 5, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, is free on there. Every other platform, you got to pay your $60-$80.
Which I think that's one of, as we discussed previously, that's one of the Xbox strongest strengths. I mean, if you're already paying for Netflix, we've always wanted that Netflix for games. Well, Xbox has that. Plus, there's stuff like Ori and the Will of the Wisp, which admittedly isn't my bag, but I've hear a lot of people dig that Metroidvania shit. Plus, there's the original Ori and the Blind Forest from 2015 or 16, I think. There's just tons of good games on the Xbox One, and it does a lot of good things. As you mentioned, it's the cheapest 4K player available right now. It does a lot of things, and as we move closer to the Xbox Series X launch, whenever that's going to be, you can guarantee there's going to be sales. Alex got his Xbox X because he picked up the Fallout 76 bundle because they couldn't give that game away fast enough.
To give an idea for anybody in the States, the system is $600 in Canada. That was the retail. So I guess $500 in the States, $600 in Canada. I got it for $429. $429 or $439 Canadian. It was at the time the only white Xbox One X. They were all black before that. So I got the special edition that was white, which is neat. Came with a controller, that matched it, obviously. It came with a digital copy of Fallout 76, whoop-diddy-doo, and a physical copy because they couldn't give them away. And then some thumb grips, which I believe I gave to you because I didn't want them. Because I'm not a thumb grip guy. I'm not a competitive shootery kind of guy, but you are. So I think I gave you the thumb grips. I ended up taking that game, the physical one that they gave me, trading it in for $8, which was funny that they would do that. I was like, I don't want it. They're like, we'll give you $8. I'm like, okay. So I ended up getting the system for what's that, like 30% off?
Something like that, yeah.
30 or 40% off, like about a year and 3 months ago. Which is kind of amazing. Now they're marking them down even more. Now, as far as if you're just looking for like, I want a thing that'll play games, but also does the 4K UHD player, get yourself a 1S 500 gig used. Because you won't need all the hard drive space because you're not playing a ton of games. But if you are, you can still use a USB drive to expand it. But it's the smallest or cheapest device out there that plays ultra 4K discs and gets firmware updates and has all the RAM to do it. And you can also play things off of USB sticks. You got home videos or whatever, or a library of music media you can play directly off of it. Because you can get them used for about $240. It's $300 for the cheapest 4K dedicated player. And that doesn't play any games, and that doesn't have nearly the versatility that this does. So you can literally save yourself $60 for a 4K Blu-ray player, and it also happens to play every Xbox game and can play, Game Pass stuff, and is ready and capable to do Project X Cloud. So why not?
Exactly. So, as always, keep your eye out for sales, be they on Amazon, your local big box retailers, or one place I recommend, but it's definitely buyer beware. Know what you're getting into. Check out Facebook Marketplace or any of the things like Craigslist, Kijiji. Because Alex told me a story a while ago.
If it looks too good to be true, it's probably a scam. Just think of that, though.
Yeah. Although sometimes you'll find people selling shit they don't realize what they're selling. Like, for example, recently, I picked up a PlayStation Vita. Most people want $120 to $150 for it. I got mine with a game for $50 because the mom didn't know what she had.
Which is a pretty killer. That's a killer deal.
Yeah. So you can find good deals because I find people, obviously, it's that time where we're all going through financial troubles, but you also got to take care of your mental health. So video games are not a bad way to go about it. In fact, the World Health Organization, I'm pretty sure, said video games are a good way to relieve stress during all this.
They are. They've completely every outlet, even Fox News and everything, has reversed their stance on it, saying this is a great way to do it because not everybody has the reading comprehension level. Like there are, or you could be dyslexic. You could have a learning disability that prevents you from being like, oh, just read a book. Some people can't, or get headaches, so they can't do as much. So now they're turning to alternative means, being like, oh yeah, it's perfectly healthy to read graphic novels. Oh yeah, it's perfectly healthy to play video games for long periods of time. They're doing that because the outrage would happen if they're like, just read a book, because that was always the standard. Like, just increase your knowledge. Well, you can play games that are very, very thought-provoking. or that, deal with philosophy, or you can read a visual novel, which is a little more interactive, or you can, go ahead and just take a dive into something you wouldn't normally do. Like there's a lot of people that would normally just be like Call of Duty players that are like, you know what? I want something a little more substantial right now. Let me play an RPG. And that's why I suggested stuff like the Yakuza series, because now that it's available on Xbox, and some of them are available on Xbox Game Pass, those are like 50 to 100 hour games.
Yeah.
And they're, if you have an Xbox One X, they're 4K 60 FPS, whereas they don't even do that on the PS4 Pro.
I mean, one of the things you were kind of mentioning about shooter people going outside their box, that's how I found Skyrim. I was a Halo Call of Duty player for years, and then I got Skyrim, and I started to dip my toes back in the RPGs, because the only RPG experience I was playing at that time was Mass Effect, and Mass Effect was a year out because there was a break between 2 and 3. So,
and also Mass Effect is still in the Gears of War FPS realm of the way it plays, whereas Skyrim is very, even though it's first person, it's very much an old school RPG.
Yeah, so there are plenty of things for you guys to play out there. Now's a great time to jump in if you're looking for something. Like I said, deals can be had if you're willing to look. But just be aware the next generation of consoles is around the corner. So be on the lookout. You never know what's going to be announced. But then I know the next generation of consoles says they're promising full backwards compatibility. We'll see what that truly means.
Yeah. And you
get our
know
hands on it.
I'll say this. If you're on the fence because you're afraid your collection's not going to work, or, they're saying there's backwards compatibility, blah, blah, blah. If you're still nervous and you don't want to spend too much money, do what I said. Get yourself a used, if you can find it, or a new, the cheapest, lowest level Xbox One S, specifically the S, because you get a 4K player. You can get it for between $200 and $250, depending on US or Canada. And then just get yourself Game Pass for a few months. Get yourself, like a 3-month pass. See if you like it. Because what will end up happening is, if you do choose that you like it, and you want to go forward and buy the Xbox Series X later on, or if they end up announcing a different tier, because there's rumors of that as well. Remember, the Game Pass carries forward. It works on whatever system you're a member of, whatever your gamer tag ID is on. And then, worst case scenario, you're like, oh crap, what do I do? Well, you could sell that system again, recoup probably 75% of your money. Your if you bought a 1S, or just keep that as an extra video player. If you really are like, I'm never going to play this again, well, you could use it for a 4K player just fine.
Yeah, so tons of options available out there to you. So that's going to do it for our Xbox One salute to quarantine and kind of our send-off to the system. I'm sure we'll talk about the generation of consoles again just before they launch, sort of in memoriam, as we remember all 3 in one episode. But for the next couple of weeks, you'll get one episode a week talking about what you should be playing during quarantine, what games you should be checking out over the next little bit. So for the prototype, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman. Dodd, say, live for your Die Hard. And as my friend Jackie Bam Bam might say, be cool, be kind, be careful, observe social distancing, play those video games. We'll catch you guys again next time, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.